Let's dive in on some of those right now. And our quarterback flames, lames, and shocker specials, all fantasy football, all the time in week 3. Here's the qualification needed to be a certifiable fantasy flame. Got to be 60% or under started right now. And pulling that data from Yahoo Leagues. So, Ryan, who maybe a quarterback that's slightly under the radar? Of course, all these guys are known because they are quarterbacks, but who is somebody that's largely on fantasy benches that you might want to consider streaming this week? Who is that?
Got a guy on my bench that I like a little bit. Now, I'm probably not going to start him, but I did consider Matthew Stafford, which doesn't seem like a smart play because 2 weeks in, he hasn't had a top 10 fantasy week yet. He only had a little bit over 13 points, 13.6 against the Texans week 1, only 17 against the Titans. But they won that game handily. Now you got a rematch from their playoff loss where they fell 13 yards short of beating the Eagles. And Stafford in that game, 324 passing yards, 2 touchdown passes. I like the Rams to keep this game close. I bet them on the spread. I think they got a chance to win this game outright. The Philly defense has taken a little step back. I still love Quinyon Mitchell. Cooper DeJean's a hell of a player, but their secondary is a little leaky right now, and they're giving up a full yard per play more than they were at this point of the season last year. I kind of like Matthew Stafford, man. Now, he's not going to get it done with his legs, and he's dealing with the back injury, but he can make all the throws, and I like the Devontae Adams connection. Puka is still one of the better receivers in the league, so I think he's going to ball out. I'm thinking like 300 yards and 3 passing touchdowns this weekend against that Philly defense.
Yeah, I think that's a good call. I mean, Philly is grossly underachieved, I feel, in that secondary, primarily because of Dory Jackson stinks in coverage. He is inside the top 10 in most yards allowed to his assignments through a couple of weeks. So he is the weakest link. So I could see Stafford really picking on him and taking advantage of that mano-a-mano match of whoever lines up in those situations on a snap-in, snap-out basis. My guy, we've already talked about him. I'll double down on him. Caleb Williams. Again, right now, quarterback 9 in total fantasy scoring so far this season. He's been outstanding from a numerical point of view. Maybe not on the surface, maybe not by conventional viewpoints, and a lot of people in Chicago land basing him on 670 The Score on a local sports talk radio in that market. But Caleb Williams put some damn respect on his name for fantasy football, largely because he gets it done on the ground. A guy's going to get you anywhere between 25, 30 yards in that capacity. And you look at Dallas, vertically, they are challenged. Number 30 in pass EPA defense so far this season. I know Caleb Williams is only number 24 in adjusted completion percentage, though he is a respectable number 15 in deep ball completion percentage. In lockstep right now, Roma Dunze, DJ Moore could have a nice game. Maybe they get the tight ends involved. Colson Loveland and Cole Kmet. Check down game, always busy and at work there with DeAndre Swift. First to 50 wins over and over again. Everything tied to Bears and Cowboys, and I think Caleb Williams going to show up and show out. I think he's going to be a top 10 quarterback yet again. Again, Dallas giving up 301 pass yards per game, 5 total touchdowns to the quarterback position, and the second most fantasy points allowed to signal callers as well. Flip side of the coin, fantasy lames. These are bigger names, over 50% started, that could have a letdown week. Ooh, interesting. I see who you're going with. I might kind of disagree with this, believe it or not. Who is it, Horvey?
Well, technically, I don't think he meets the criteria. I like your guy, but I didn't want to double up on your guy. And I feel like every other top quarterback has a pretty favorable matchup, but I'm not in love with Jared Goff against the Baltimore Ravens. Now, he threw 5 touchdown passes against that Bears secondary. Now he's going against this Ravens secondary, which, I'm not all that high on, but it's just the matchup, man. Goff has never thrown a touchdown pass against Baltimore in 3 career starts, 120 attempts. He had a 53 attempt performance in that 38-6 loss in 2023. Historically, they've just had his number. It's a road game. I think Jared Goff is going to throw a couple picks this week, actually. So I'll go with him, and I'm playing against him this week, so I feel pretty good about that.
All right. Going with Jared Goff, although it's the highest total on the board this week at 51.5 there on Monday night. Again, you agree with my guy. Normally I sing this song, It Hurts So Good. Come on, Jalen, make it hurt so good. He may make it hurt in a not so good way this week for fantasy football devices. He's my fantasy lane candidate, largely because he's entirely reliant right now on the tush push, the city of brotherly shove, right? And scoring on the ground. He's not doing much vertically because his team is going fully old school. Crack out the leather helmets and watch this game in black and white. It is utterly ridiculous how much they're leaning on the run right now in Philadelphia. They're calling run on 60% of their plays through 2 weeks, folks. That's crazy to me. And you look at the LA Rams, they're number one in the NFL right now, and pass EPA defense are actually way up there, too, in terms of rush EPA defense. Jalen Hurts, yes, he's number one in adjusted completion percentage, but it's all about the limited number of opportunities. When he does turn the air, he's making completions, just not deep down the field. He is number 32 in total air yards. That's terrible. You look at the carry percentage, a sky-high 36.8%. Again, that's where the needle really moves from a fantasy football perspective. 77 rush yards, the 3 rushing touchdowns. The Rams have allowed the fewest fantasy points to quarterbacks so far through a couple of games. They're only giving up 201.5 total yards per game. That's including rush yards. And only 1 touchdown they have allowed via the ground or the air in total to the quarterback position. So if Hurts is going to have a lackluster game, it's in this matchup. The Rams are the real deal Holyfield right now defensively. So it could be a very subpar, mediocre, vanilla, bland effort for one. It hurts so good, Mr. Jalen Hurts. All right, let's go a little bit deeper. Shocker special time. These are guys under 15% started right now in Yahoo leagues, and they could really stand out in the box score. Who is your selection?
I'm going back to the well here with my guy, formerly known as Danny Dimes, now just known in Indianapolis as Dimes, Daniel Jones. So, granted, it's a 2-game sample size, but I like this matchup against the Titans. He's coming off a game against one of the better defenses in the league, the Broncos, and he threw for 316 yards, 2 total touchdowns, 8.7 yard average target depth, He's 13th in ADOT this season, so top 15. So it's not just dinking and dunking. He's pushing the ball down the field a little bit, and he's one of only 5 quarterbacks with 20-plus fantasy points from rushing as well, the 2 weeks. He's using his legs a little bit too. So let's go with our guy, Danny Dimes, against the Titans, who just got carved up last week. I like this matchup. I don't know if he's going to throw for 316 yards, but he could add a rushing touchdown. They're using him a lot on the goal line, which sucks if you have Jonathan Taylor anytime touchdowns, man, because Danny Dimes is going to be a little bit of a touchdown vulture this year, but I like Daniel Jones this week again.
Crack the whip, Indiana Jones could get it done again. How about Jake Browning? Look, people are going to be spending exorbitant fab cash, shelling out, slapping the wallet, smashing the piggy bank, especially in Superflex or 2 quarterback leagues. I'm in one of those situations. I'm going to spend probably upwards of 70% of my fab budget to acquire him because I had Joe Burrow on my roster, but we mentioned earlier, the guy has amnesia, right? He's a gunslinger. He's going to go out there. It doesn't matter if he throws and hits the opposition squarely in the numbers. He did that 3 times last week, those INTs. He's going to just go out there and keep on gunning. You get the Minnesota Vikings this week, number 2 in pass EPA defense so far. Browning was only number 31 last week and adjusted completion percentage, but this is what really moves things, drive things for me. 9.0 ADOT, a very handsome level of production there. That's the luxury of having Jamar Chase and also T. Higgins on roster. Hopefully he's going to get Chase Brown more involved there in the checkdown game. Only had 1 reception, a key one late in that game. You look at Minnesota, 5th fewest fantasy points to opposing single colors on the season, giving up 6.2 yards per attempt, 172.5 pass yards a game, only 1 passing touchdown, also giving up 1 rushing touchdown. But I think Jake Browning could be a surprise sensation. Remember back in 2023, got a handful of starts when Burrow was out that season. He averaged 20 fantasy points per game. That ain't too shabby, folks. So I think for him to reach fantasy flame status, all he got to do is score 18-plus fantasy points in standard Yahoo formats. I think he gets there. I got him ranked as a top 20 quarterback this week. Am I crazy, Ryan Horvat?
I don't think so at all, man, right? Because I still like the weapons, and because a couple of years ago, when he filled in, he did a pretty solid job. They went on a little winning streak. They had an outside shot even to make the playoffs. I remember he was feeling himself a little bit because his wife or his fiance or his girlfriend or whatever she is, she went to one of those games in like the tracksuit. But I like him, and I like the weapons. You have Jamar. You have the best receiver in all of football. You have T. Higgins, the best number 2 receiver in all of football. You have Chase Brown, who I hope still finds his way into the end zone a couple times here the next couple weeks while they try to survive without Burrow. So, yeah, I even in this matchup against the Vikings, he might throw a couple picks, but he's going to throw a couple touchdowns, I think, especially against this blitz-happy defense from Brian Flores. So I like Jake Browning a little bit this week as well, too.